Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 10th, 2017, and revised by email on April 28th, 2017.
Thanks, Katie. Give a roll call, please.
Mayor Coles.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Here.
Committeeman Goldstein.
Here.
Committeeman Akerman.
Here.
Committeeman Delia.
Here. Move open session. So made. Second.
I'll second.
Assume there's a second.
I'll second.
If you please rise for a salute to the flag and prayer. Mr. Wright, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we humbly ask thy blessings upon this township committee and all those in authority, so that they may serve the people. Look down with mercy on our weaknesses and stretch forth your divine power to guide us. All this we ask in thy name. Amen.
Good evening, everybody. Can I have a motion for the regular workshop and executive session minutes of April 20th? So made. Moved by Minaj, second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, ordinances for discussion and adoption. We have the public hearing and the adoption of the cap ordinance. Tom, do we need to explain, or should I just open up the meeting?
What, for the budget?
Yeah.
We can do the cap ordinance first.
Okay, so we're going to open the meeting for the public.
We have to do the cap
We
ordinance
can
first.
do the cap ordinance first.
Okay,
Okay, we have ordinance of Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State, New Jersey, to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
and thanks. I'll open the meeting to the public on this ordinance only. Anybody who'd like to speak?
Shlomo Klein, Chateau Bark. Would like to request the committee to explain this ordinance. Public.
Tom? Bill? Kevin?
Yeah, I can explain the ordinance. The township is under a spending limitation cap. This year, it's based on the consumer price index. This year, the cap was at 0.5%. By ordinance, we're allowed to go to 3.5%. And what this ordinance does, and we're well under all the spending caps, we're well under the levy cap. What this does is that preserves our ability to spend up to the cap in the future years. So what we're doing is basically taking the money that we have not spent in the last year, and we're putting it in a cap bank. So if the need would arise, that we would need to utilize that, it allows us to utilize it. But again, we're well under all the caps, so it's just basically preserving our ability to make choices in the future.
My understanding, you did this ordinance every year till now.
Yes, and I usually recommend that they do it every year, yes.
And what happens with all the money that you put into the cap?
It goes away after 2 years, so we're allowed to bank it for 2 years. And all it is it allows us to spend up to the cap bank.
How
And
much?
then it goes into a bank, and if we do need it in the next 2 years, then we're allowed to utilize it. After 2 years, it goes away.
How much money is now in the cap?
The cap bank for this year is $70 million, and we are spending, our inside the cap, we're $68 million, so we're about $2 million under the cap. So we could spend up to $70 million and still be within the New Jersey statutes. We have not done that, but what we're doing is we're taking that $2 million and we're moving it forward so that if we did need it, not that I think we probably will, but if we did need it, based on some emergency, it would be available to us. That's all it does. It doesn't authorize us to spend any more money, it preserves that bank.
What happens if you want to spend that money? Do you have to pass an ordinance, or it has to go into the regular budget?
The budget as it's going, assuming it's going to be adopted tonight, the budget is our budget for 2017. The only additions we can make to that budget is if we were to get a grant. If we were to get a state or federal grant, we could add that to the budget. After we pass the budget tonight, this budget is going to be the budget for 2017. It can't be changed unless there's an offsetting state or federal revenue. That's the only change that we can make once we adopt this.
So what?
Through the chair, can I think that maybe Mr. Klein is not understanding one thing. It's not cash in a bank,
No.
in a bank. It's on paper. There's no money here. So if we vote to spend $68 million this year, that's all we could spend, like we just explained. However, next year, if we're allowed to go what the consumer price index allows us to go over, we don't have to stop at 68, we can start at 70. So it gives us the ability next year to go higher if we need that elbow room. And that's why we allow ourselves the choice in the future.
So you accumulated already this cash?
It's not,
No,
it's
no,
not.
there's no cash involved,
It's
that was a very good
Not a
explanation.
cash, not a cash.
There's no cash involved.
You did every year the 3.5% that you could go above, so this accumulates every year, another 3.5 that you don't use.
No, but it's on paper. There's no money. In other words, basically what it says is, for example, this year we're allowed to go up to 70, but if we would not have done the cap bank last year, maybe we would have been only be able to go up to 69, let's say. But we're going to 68 anyway. We're anyway only spending 68. But if we would have needed 70,
And you're not using the last year's 3.5%
It's not.
to say, claim that you're in
we're
the,
not this year, but we're leaving ourselves out. Most municipalities.
so
do
you're,
in case
like
we-
now, it's probably by 20% more that you
No,
could
it's
go over
only
the
for 2
budget.
years, right?
Uh-huh.
After 2 years, you lose the bank. Yeah,
If you don't use
There's
it.
been years when there's been years when the consumer price index doesn't allow for any increase. So all we're really doing is if there is a situation where we need to increase the budget this year, we're preserving our ability to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing. Feel free.
Good evening, my name is Aaron Hirsch,
Address also, please, Mr.
146 Mountain View Drive. I had a question, I was just been trying to figure out some,
This is only on the cap ordinance. This isn't the open public session.
oh, I apologize. I
Okay, if you
didn't-
want to speak on that, we'll have the open session in hopefully a couple of minutes.
Oh, I apologize. Okay.
All right, seeing nobody else in this ordinance, we'll close the public hearing. Moved by Minaj.
Second.
Second by Mayor, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Akerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Number 2, Katie?
Okay. Municipal budget of the Township of Lakewood County, a motion for the fiscal year 2017. Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the year 2017. Be it further resolved that said budget be published in the Asbury Park Press in the issue of April 20, 2017. The governing body of the Township of Lakewood does hereby approve the following as the budget for the year 2017. Notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution was approved by the Township Committee of the Township of Lakewood County Motion on April 6, 2017. The hearing on the budget and tax resolution is being held in the municipal building today, May 4th, at 7:30 p.m. At this time and place, objections to budget and tax resolution for the year 2017 may be presented by taxpayers or other interested parties.
Thanks, Katie. We'll open the meeting to the public. Anybody like to speak on the budget? Should have just told you to stay up front.
Yeah, he blocked me. Shloim McLean, Chateau Park. I don't even know how much money you guys are approving today, but it seems like it's millions of dollars. And this is the budget of Lakewood. And when you don't have this information in the packet, like you have all the other stuff, it's not in the packet. It's on the agenda, but it's not in the packet.
There's copies provided for you out there, the budget, I don't know if everybody took them, but there are copies of the budget that were photocopied and placed down there for you.
I'm looking for it.
Katie, was the budget put online already also?
Yes. Upstairs. Maybe excuse them to grab some budgets.
Mr. Kine, if you'd like to hold off on this portion, Katie's going to go upstairs and get the budgets. I'll postpone the...
I'm not talking about the budget, I'm talking about not having the budget available over here. So,
Katie, she went together. Well, the budget was put online also for people, and it was put in different places.
I know it was advertised in Asbury Park Press and it was put online, but there's very few people that came over here tonight. The members of the public that made it out, and not putting out the budget as the details, like all the other stuff that you have in the packet for the public to see. This is not the regular ordinance that you say you made a mistake. This is the budget. This is the talking about spending the taxpayer money. And it doesn't look kosher. I'm assuming that it was just a mistake, but it's still not acceptable that the members of the public, and I got an email today from Katie, she sent me an email with the whole packet, it was not in there. And so when I came over here, it's not in here. So even though you advertised the concept of the budget, but the details should have been available to the public to see before they start the meeting. So I just don't know if you should hold off on it or not. You have your professionals over here. I don't know how you want to deal with it. But as far as open government, it doesn't look right.
Mayor, if I may, you know, when we introduced the budget a month ago, everybody had the opportunity to get a copy from the clerk at that time. So you had 30 days in which to, like you do an ordinance, if the ordinance is done, you go get a copy. Well, the same thing with the budget. When the budget was introduced, you had up till tonight to go to the clerk and get a copy of the budget.
I understand, but this is one of the ways, you know, things change before the meeting, and this is one of the ways that we know when we come over here, but the final meeting, whatever's on the desk, is the things that is going to be approved.
You want to make sure the budget that was down here is the same one that was put.
No, I don't want to make sure, it's a matter of,
It was a mistake. Katie has the packets upstairs. They forgot to bring them down for the meeting tonight. We ran very late in our executive session. We usually finish up about 20 after. We went till 27 after. Katie usually has a chance to go back to her office to check for stuff. She immediately left that and came downstairs. So I apologize that we didn't have time.
I'm not looking for apology, I'm just, this is the budget that you're spending so much money and mistakes happen, and the public or certain members of the public that are relying on certain information. Somebody looks on Epstein Park Plus, somebody goes online, somebody comes over here and requests for it, but not having it in one of the ways that you usually do it, the budget is missing, and this is talking about the township taxpayer money being spent. I think it's not appropriate. I'm not trying to make you look bad. I understand that it was a mistake.
What I tried to say when you first came up and you realized you weren't here, that I'd be happy to put off the hearing for the budget for a few minutes so they came downstairs. And I was gonna just hold off. I'll do the public session and then we'll get back to the budget hearing.
Okay,
But they're here. If you'd like a copy of it now, we just.
okay.
Thank you.
Just want to mention something else. This package of paper, I'm looking at the header, was laying on that table by the professionals. I asked them before the meeting if I could look at it, and they are not responsive. So, again, I would have been able to see it before the meeting because your professionals had it over here, and they didn't feel that it's important that a member from the public to look at it. I'm just mentioning
Is there a
that.
reason for that?
Well, first of all, my copy has my writings on it.
Okay.
I wanted to have a copy in front of me during the meeting.
You want to speak on that, or do you want me to?
I have to review it, so open it up to the public first. And
All right, we're going to hold off on the budget hearing. I'm going to open the meeting to the public. Anybody who'd like to speak on any matter is welcome to come up. Steve? It's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm not objecting. Great, Walt Lucas, live on Newport Avenue, Southwest Lakewood, Cross Street. Albert, no handouts, the economy's bad, no handouts. Actually, I lied, I do have a handout. I'll make this brief. This is really about the traffic out there. And it's really tied to zoning, all right? They're intricately tied, they're tied together out there. If you're standing out there and look for good zoning, you will see good zoning. You will see commercial zoning, you will see, there's a place for buses out there, I think jet buses. There's, if I can remember them all, there's Lakewood Business Park, commercial again. There's age restricted, another good zoning. There's all sorts of good zoning. What's missing out in that whole area is something for families. And because of the zoning out there, R10, the schools come in and take properties. They buy them up one at a time. I'm trying to remember my notes here to make this brief. All right. But presently, there's a committee doing the master plan and rezoning. And out there, they're not working with a blank page. So it's not a blank page, there's something there already, and I'm not sure they're going to accommodate it. And what it is the schools, which creates all of the traffic. All right. At James and Cross, it's only a half a mile to Jackson. That's all it is. That whole area right now is R40, and I'm contending it should be zoned, and this all again has to do with traffic. It has to be zoned for families or age restricted, R10, something like that. And that's to promote families moving there and not letting, it's not the right word, but not leaving the door open to let schools come in. The Cross Street is a connector road, I'm sure you're all aware of that. It goes from Jackson to Town River. So there's tons of traffic there, and anything to alleviate traffic would be good. I've been here before, I think once with a laptop, showing you the traffic on Cross Street twice a day. It really is a mess. So it really needs, the zoning there needs to be for families, otherwise schools come in. And when a school comes in right now, there are a lot of folks who have 3 and 4 acres out there. And the school comes in, and next thing you know, you're gonna have 200 more students. You're gonna have buses. Someone else sells, you're gonna have 200 more students, more buses, 200 more, it's going to be a mess. And I think what also is now going to make this messier, nobody out there now wants to buy out there on 3, 4, 5 acres. Everyone, because of taxes. The latest tax assessment that went through, the tax assessor told the folks in the enclave and in the fairways that they were going to go after, that's not the right phrase again, the larger acres out in that area off of Cross Street. And lo and behold, they did. So I spoke to several people out there, and I'll give you two examples. They have 30-year-old ranches, moderate ranch, 3 bedrooms, 30-year-old kitchen, 30-year-old septic, 3 acres. The tax assessor came in, and their new tax bill is now going to be $33,000. How's that? 30. Now, who's going to buy that? Not me, all right? So the bottom line is who can afford it would be a school. Schools are going to come in, put 200 kids on 3 acres. And now what? Now you're going to have buses, you're going to have cars. It's going to be a mess. So my point is simply that area should be rezoned for age restricted for families, something like that. That's my point. And this is just a picture you can pass down, and there's a handout of what there you go. The schools out there are a mess. And that's a backyard of 4 people. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Joyce Blight, editor/reporter, NJ News and Views, sand with an ampersand, www.joycebleyWSandViews.com. Thank you. I do have a question with regard to this budget. There are no funds budgeted for trash pickup for the school district. However, the municipality does provide free trash pickup to non-public schools. Why doesn't the municipality, which apparently has surplus, not offer free trash pickup to the public school district as well?
That decision was made several years ago, and I didn't agree with it. We have started talking about the possibility. It's not something I can come forward and say yes or no on tonight, but we are looking at regaining public school pickup as well.
It does truly need it. The district is in desperate financial straits, and apparently the municipality of Lakewood is in much better financial shape. So my question is why this doesn't appear to have any funding of it budgeted for assistance to the district, particularly since the municipality was required by the state to make good on its promise to give $1 million to the district. I think it was early last year, And after several months of waiting and waiting, according to the monitor, the state literally had to twist the municipality's arm in order to get the funding that was promised.
Sorry, what was the holdup with turning over the money to the school district? Joyce just said that the state had to force us to give the money that we had promised.
That is not true at all. We waited until January when we could actually give the first part of the money to the school. We had to wait for the new year. So there's no state forces to do anything.
Mr. Henshaw, I did contact, the now former business administrator for the district last year, particularly I think it was around the springtime when you were preparing the budget for the township, and he confirmed to me that the district had not received the check. In fact, I publicly asked 2016 Mayor Menashe Miller, and at that time Menashe had informed me that he had just signed the check for the $1 million, and that was in the spring. So it was several months after the media had reported the promise that the township made to give the district the $1 million. But still, that's neither here nor there. That was for a different purpose. According to what I've read in current media and what I heard from district teachers and other employees of the district at the last Board of Ed meeting, the district is truly in financial straits. And my question is whether the township will say here and now that they are prepared to provide free trash pickup to Lakewood public schools and not just to non-public schools. That's all I'm asking.
I agree with you.
Agreeing and promising are two different things. Mr. Mayor,
Joyce,
will
I
you?
said to you earlier that we had just begun talking about it. I cannot say yes or no tonight, but it is something that we're discussing.
But in other words, you are not prepared at this time. I know, but I did ask the question.
I answered the question twice.
All right.
Thank you.
My name is Reznik. I live on 22 Sandstown. I want to know who puts up those emergency notices in different complexes that tell you where addresses are? The emergency, the developer or the town? I guess if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I know what you mean. Actually, I think the only development that I know that has it is Westgate.
And Lake Commons. I
I didn't know about Lakewood Commons. I didn't know about Lakewood Commons. Westgate was done because emergency responders were having a hard time finding the addresses. So we met with the developer, the fire department, EMS, I think the police department, and they worked with the developer, and the developer came and put up the signs.
Okay. I just lived by Lawrence on 9th, and you can't read any addresses in those classes. So, okay, the thing I wanted to ask is, a few years ago, like 10 years ago, maybe less than that, there was a park on Clifton, between Clifton, Lexington, and 9th and 10th. That park is now a parking lot. There was also a park on 7th and Princeton. That park is now two apartment buildings. There is now a park on Princeton and 4th, and you want to move the park to Vine Street and turn that place into a parking lot. I know the area around town, people say it's becoming a NERC, a natural occurring retirement community, but there are still children living there, and the children are not walking to Vine Street to go to the new park. There's a chance to leave like a small sliver, an island, a playground and a basketball hoop there, instead of just paving the whole thing over. That's what I'm asking. And something like, okay, I can't remember. There's something. Oh yeah, another thing is, no, I forgot it. Okay.
Thanks very much.
Need my name?
You have it for the record.
Shlomo Klein, Stowe Park. I want to speak tonight about the zoning board. A Hasidic guy from Brooklyn came to the zoning board to build a nice big house on a property, not a duplex, even though that zone is zoned for duplexes. He was building a very big house, and the zoning board gave him a hard time. One of the neighbors came complaining, why do we have to let Brooklyn people build big houses? They want to build big houses, and he was complaining about it. The zoning board shut him down. They didn't even let him go for a vote. They told him, make it smaller and come back. And this was not somebody that was doing duplexes, or even the basement was not finished. He was just trying to build it a little bit bigger, and he needed a little bit variance, and was understanding why he should get some kind of leeway. The same zoning board, the same night, was approving for developers duplexes, private houses, not considering the zoning, going down 2 zones, variances giving out like matzo balls. They were like, and I was asking the question, why do some get different treatment than others? And I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer is the developers, or whoever came and they got approved, mostly of them did, bring an attorney that is well connected, and bring an engineer that is well connected. And then they have something that is called the other name. How do you call in Washington these? Lobbyists. Thank you. Then they have some lobbyists that take care of the zoning board members before the meeting. And you pay these lobbyists a lot of money. I'm not saying the lobbyists give money to the zoning board members, but all I'm saying is the lobbyists communicating with the zoning board members, and you're usually lobbyists, but by you it's legal because you're not like the zoning board and planning board members that cannot speak to the applicant without public meetings. Somebody could come privately to you and advocate for some kind of budget or anything like that. But as far as the zoning board members and the planning board members, it's not legal. And that's what's happening, and it's quite obvious when it comes to the board to see what gets approved and what not. Now, this guy from Brooklyn was very naive. He came, there's a zoning board, I'll come, and he just got a nice engineer, but not somebody that is well connected, and he didn't bring an attorney, and he thought, what's the problem? The reason why I'm mentioning this, first, I think the township committee should look into it. And if it's illegal, in my opinion, it is illegal, and so was quoted by the planning board attorney, this should not be allowed. The zoning board members cannot communicate with applicants or the lobbyists before the meeting. Second of all, why I'm mentioning it, listen, if this is how business is run in this town, the people of Brooklyn have to know that there's a certain way of this town works. And if you want to get something approved, get the attorney that is well connected, get this engineer that is well connected, and better get this lobbyist to make sure that the zoning board members before the meeting are included that they should approve this project or this house. So the public has to know, it is their right. If everybody's doing it, the people of Brooklyn have a right to know, and they could do it too. My question is if the mayor has a comment on this, about this illegal problem, or anybody else.
I don't know the specifics of the application you're talking about. I will look into it. I agree with you that people shouldn't be lobbying people ahead of the meetings. And we will meet again if we need to with the attorneys and make sure that everybody's following the proper rules.
But in the past, I'm finishing. The past, I know you don't usually allow, there's not so many people, let me just say a 10-second statement.
Just take seconds off your budget proposal then.
No problem.
Go ahead.
In the past, when I complained about the zoning board and planning board, they usually hold up for a meeting or two, and then they go back to the bad behavior. This is what's happening now with the zoning board. So,
I
again,
appreciate you coming to us, and if we have to have a meeting once a week, I will.
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to be heard for the public portion?
Aaron Hirsch, 146 Mountain View. I want to know with regards to general operations in this town, like, for instance, when we approve zone changes or different types of developments, Do we have any idea what an R40, R12, R15, what is the impact fiscally on this township, on the rest of the people of this town? Do we have any idea what that number is for specific zones?
Not off the top of my head, if you have some specific
Is there,
questions about
I'm saying I'd be able to get that number, like tomorrow, somebody could ask someone for that type of number? Do we even know that? Do we do fiscal impact studies?
Not really, I mean, I really don't understand the question.
Yeah, same thing.
I just want to know if there's like a specific number, you know, it costs us X amount of dollars for a specific type of area zoning, whether it's going to be like 10 houses on 2 acres, you know.
I can answer this. It's
Oh.
impossible to calculate that because you don't know what type of house would be built. So if the zoning is, the density's increased or decreased, it would affect the number of houses. But you don't know whether $1 million house is gonna go there or a $400,000 house. If you knew what type of house was gonna go there, then the assessor could tell us how much money that would be, the rateable would come back to the town. But it's impossible unless you know what type of house is gonna be built.
Well, I mean, that's what I was talking about, the different types of zoning, which I mean, types of houses, like, in other words, you can put like a bunch of duplexes up, and want to know if it's going to cost us money at the end of the day after we finish all our services, whether it's garbage pickup, whether it's snow removal, it's road repair, that type of stuff. If we even have an idea what things are costing us, maybe we're doing well with building high density, maybe we're not. I'm just trying to figure out if it makes any sense to the taxpayers. I didn't notice there was an answer.
It's speculative unless you know what type of house.
Okay. No, because there are other towns, many other towns in Jersey that do actually require fiscal impact studies. That would mean, what is the fiscal impact of this, of this project, this development? What it would cost, does the taxpayer gain money, does the taxpayer lose money? I know it's, I was trying, because I've been to many meetings throughout the whole year, zoning planning, and I realize that no one has any clue, they just see what they could get away with or whatever, whether it costs us, maybe we're making money on all this, but I don't know, we don't even know. Now, another question, I happened to see in the budget about the airport, are we losing, we're making money, I see we're building, here we're building hangars, where are we on that, are we making money?
You have to check with the Industrial Commission, it's being run by the Industrial Commission. I believe that they are making some money on it, and that the reason they wanted to go with the hangars is to increase the revenue source for it. But I'd have to ask Mr. Ryman for a copy, unless, Bill, do we have anything on the airport in the budget? Do you know?
I saw like 800,000.
$100,000 appropriation for general operations.
I'm sorry, how much?
It's about $100,000.
Okay, that's an operation cost, and that's not necessarily revenue.
You ask Mr. Ryman to get us a report, maybe a copy of yours for the LIC, including the airport.
Because, I mean, it's a nice piece of land sitting right in the industrial zone, and if we're not making serious money on it, if it's not, I just don't understand why.
The federal government will not allow us to change the use of the airport. I tried.
So-
Steve and Mayor, I think, went to Washington DC to lobby the FCC, the
We met with
FAA.
the chair of the Federal Aviation, Federal Aeronautics.
So we don't have a choice, we have to sit with that airport no matter what?
Yes.
Is it because we took money from the federal government at some point? Why are we stuck with having an airport?
A number of things. The airport is very important to the government. They want to make sure that they have these small regional airports around. I don't personally agree with it, but it was done long before I was on the township committee. Over the years, there have been federal grants that were given to fix the runway, to do improvements for lights and security and stuff like that. And those monies would have to be paid back if they gave permission, but they're not giving permission. It's not like, I wish I could sell it for industrial. I had somebody who was interested in adding it to the industrial park 15 years ago, and we could not make it happen.
Interesting.
Okay? Thank you, sir.
My name is Moshe Friedman, and I live on Cary Street, 220 Cary Street. And I'd like to bring up, which I think is a dangerous problem.
Speak a little bit more into the mic so people can hear you.
On Cary Street on Route 9, if you're going from Route 9 north and you want to make a right turn onto Cary Street, sometimes it gets very, very tight there because it's a two-way street. People are allowed to park on both sides of the street. And people driving on Route 9 have to worry about the people behind them too. And sometimes there's trucks, and it gets very frightening to try and make that right turn. We have spoken to the police department about it, and they said they're going to put a yellow line at least to not a sign, just a yellow line, which hasn't got done for quite a while.
I don't ask for it.
The mayor, I remember the mayor asking for that at a meeting like 2 months ago.
You follow up with the chief when you speak to him next?
Yeah, you can ask DPW to do it.
Yeah, but I thought the chief had to give the okay.
No, remember we said it's within the legal part? What we said was this Title 39 about how close you could park to the
So does it have to be
intersection.
marked out first, they just can use their own?
Sure, they can just measure whatever Title 39 says.
I'll talk to Public Works again tomorrow and see if I can expedite that out for you.
Okay, I think the other side is illegal to park that close to the corner. There's a stop sign, you're facing a stop sign.
50 feet.
50 feet. Right, okay, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just want to know, is the,
Name and address, please?
oh, sure, Nechama Goldstein, 31 Kingsfield Drive.
Thank you.
Is the westgate making North Crest one-way street, is that coming up for a vote
Yes, we'll be first reading it hopefully on May 18th.
on May 18th? It's not tonight.
Just got the report back from Traffic and Safety. We were discussing it upstairs tonight. We're asking for Frank Work to give us his final. There was one street that was changed from one-way west to one-way east. He'll get that to us in the next day or two, and then we'll have the paperwork drawn up so that we can introduce it at the 18th.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if I'll be here by May 18th, but I just wanted to tell you it's a very good idea. Most of the streets in Westgate are already one-way, and it's just very tight when you go down that street, and it really should be one-way.
And that
So,
plus the buses now will be able to drop off kids throughout the
Right.
entire incentive to still on Hillcrest. So it's a long time coming.
okay,
Thanks
thank
for your
you.
patience. Seeing nobody else, we'll close the public portion. At this time, I'm going to open up the hearing on the budget. If anybody would like to speak on the budget, please feel free to come down. You want to speak on the budget? Oh.
I see I have you professionals over here, and there was like a mistake with providing to the public and to me today by email the budget as being discussed. If it's possible, at least for you professionals, to give like a brief thing of the budget, what the numbers are briefly all about for the public to know.
Gentlemen, you prepared for that?
Well, basically, the budget this year, total appropriations are $87,715,381. We are raising in the budget $57,245,000 in municipal property tax. The tax rate will be 59.2 cents. The average assessment in 2017 is $322,279, which equates to about $1,906.28 in municipal taxes. Our rateable base for 2017, which taxes are based on, is $9,677,307,895, as opposed to 2016.
Did you say billion?
Yes. 2016 was $6,451,459,200, and that's because we had a recent revaluation.
What are you going to do with so much money?
That's the value of the
That's what the value of all the real estate.
Oh, okay.
I wish
If you
we had
wanted to
that.
buy the whole Lakewood, you need $9.6 billion.
And just for everybody's edification, there's no tax increase in the municipal budget this year. This is the third year in a row we've had no tax increase.
You're spending more money.
We're spending more money, but there's no tax increase.
Yeah, and some of the money that we're spending we've increased the contribution to the school from 1 million to 2 million. Also, the decision was made to, there's a lot of capital projects that we do. Normally we'd go out and borrow that money. Since we are in pretty good financial shape, we've got about $4.7 million in capital projects that we're actually going to fund from our savings rather than going out and borrowing, so there'll be no borrowing costs So those are some things that are different this year than in the past.
So how much more money are you spending from last year to this year? How much more is the,
About $5.5 million. $1 million of which is a contribution to the school, and then like as I said, we're spending some capital projects rather than going out and borrowing. We're doing some capital projects directly out of the budget, so that would account for a great deal of that.
it was a few months ago discussed over here that there's like $80 million in cash in the bank, the township, what happened with that money?
That's called surplus,
Still there?
and it's still there.
So,
We use some surplus in the budget, and then we keep some there and reserve for the following year.
Well, we
And
like
try
to
to build on that.
What we like to try to do is maintain enough surplus so that, in case that there is an increase, and there hasn't been a tax increase in 3 years, but if there is a necessity for an increase, it's a slight increase, so we try to keep enough in savings to kind of fund next year's budget so that there isn't, if there was to be an increase, it would just be a slight increase as opposed to big spikes up and down.
so how much money are you putting in this year in the surplus bank account?
Almost 15 million.
So we're going to have 18 plus 15?
18 has nothing to do with, no, we use $15 million of surplus, we have roughly almost 15 million in reserve.
So last year you had 18 million, what happened with those?
Last year, we had 21 million, we put 17 million back in, and we used 9 million, we used about 10 million for the 2016 budget. We generated about 17 million, so we've gone from 21 million to 29 million. So we had 29 million at the end of the year, and we're utilizing, I believe it's about 15 million to fund this budget. So we'll have 14 million left, hopefully we'll generate some fund balance, and hopefully we'll be back here having the same conversation next year that we have fund balance enough, to maintain a stable tax.
Then I'll have the packet before and look it
I
over.
will personally deliver one too.
Now, just one more thing, small thing. The second page of this packet, there is a signature over here on the budget from the municipal accountant.
Yes, that's me.
And who's the chief financial officer?
William Riker.
And you didn't sign on that.
Yeah,
Is there any reason for it?
I just brought these down tonight. We had one change, the state reviews our budget every year. We had to move, health insurance, we had to move from what they call outside the cap to inside the cap. So we didn't change the number, we just moved the positioning in the budget. So, after the state approved that, I sent these budgets down to the clerk. I brought some hard copies down to her tonight. I signed it, but Bill will be signing it after the meeting.
So he doesn't have to sign it before the township committee votes? Just asking.
He signed the introduced.
He could do it now.
He signed the introduced budget. Yeah, I don't know.
The only,
He signed, there was a budget that was sent to the state that he signed. There was just a slight change in the budget, didn't change the numbers, it just changed the positioning in the budget. So about 4 o'clock this afternoon, we had to redo the budget, and I sent that down to the clerk about 4 o'clock this afternoon. I signed it and sent it down to Bill and to the clerk, and that will get signed before it goes back up to the state for final.
does the township committee know what changes the state made? Like what they're voting on? I'm not trying to make them look bad, I'm just,
There was no change to the budget, there was a simply, I think, yeah, we had some of the, it was just,
okay.
there was a number for health, there was a number for healthcare, I think, I wanna say it was about 40,000 was outside the cap, and the state requested that we move it from outside the cap to inside the cap, so there was no change in what we're spending, no change in the revenue, simply the positioning in the budget.
Then,
And the state told us we didn't need to do any kind of amendment to it, just go ahead and fix it and send it up.
and on sheet 1, the last thing that I want to comment, I see the state didn't sign either. Where is their signature?
The state won't sign it until it's been adopted. They'll
Oh,
send
so
us,
they,
they'll
you
they'll
said,
send it back, yeah, what we'll do tonight is when we get done, after Bill signs it, we'll send it up to the state, and they'll finally certify it and send it back to us at some point.
so you said before the state was approving it?
They approve it as introduced, then we have to have the public hearing, because they approved it, but it hasn't been adopted until we have a public hearing, and the committee has a chance to vote on it, it's not adopted. Once it's adopted, then they'll send it back to the state, and they'll certify it, it's good to go. And when they certify it, then it goes over to county so that they can strike the tax.
Thank you very much.
Peyton Guyan, Asbury Park Press. Mr. Mayor, Councilman. I normally don't like to get up in public meetings to ask a question, but I just want to make sure I have my facts straight on this. I believe the CFO said there's a 52-cent municipal tax rate. I just want to make sure I'm clear because in the documents I'm looking and seeing 86 cents. Am I reading it wrong?
86.1 cent was the 2016 tax rate.
Okay.
The 2017 is 59.2 cents.
Due to the revaluation.
Due to revaluation.
So will you say again, sorry, 52?
59.2.
59.2, and that's the 2017 municipal tax rate?
Right.
Okay, very good. That's all. Thanks.
Mr. Hirsch, do you want to speak on it?
Yeah, didn't have much time to review this. Aaron Hirsch?
Been out there for over a month.
Hi. I have a question. I see that there's a line for rent for the stadium, and I don't see any amount next to it. Is there any rents that come in over there?
I'm sorry, what page are you looking at?
Oh, I was on,
Yeah, that's the industrial commission, not the township.
okay, because I didn't see any rents, but now I'm seeing also, I actually see utility bill, stadium utilities. It's, let's see, it was 36,000. Good, I'm sorry.
What page?
Could you tell me what sheet you're on?
I'm on sheet 17. So I'm just curious, so we're not getting rent, we're paying utilities.
The utilities are paid by the township, and we get reimbursed from the ballpark.
And do they pay the township any money besides that for rent, or just the
The rents
utilities?
go to the industrial commission, not to the township per se, even though the industrial commission money is the township money.
Right, because it's, in other words, well, it's money that the township allows the industrial commission to take. In other words, it was given to them to be able to pick up that
Money
money.
that the industrial commission earns, and the township can reclaim that as necessary by
So-
informing them.
Do you have any idea what that number is,
I
or?
believe last year it was 182,000.
Oh, okay.
It should have gone up a bit this year because of cost of living. I don't know the exact number, but
I have another question. With regards to the budget, we're talking about surpluses. Why are we not reducing the taxes, the property taxes, if we have such large surplus? I mean, I'm just asking, I'm not sure what your answer is, but I'm just curious. I just heard that number, I
I'm not
never
an expert guy
reviewed
either,
it.
But what you want to try and do is maintain a stable tax rate by having the surplus and applying most of it or a large part of it each year. It regenerates itself. So if you were to take that entire surplus and knock the tax rate down 3 cents this year, next year if you didn't have it, you'd be increasing it 5 cents.
Yeah, but you're talking about 80,
We had an extraordinarily good year this year. There was a lot of land sales, there was a lot of miscellaneous revenue. This was an unusually good year. We don't really want to depend on those results every year.
but we've increased the spending by 5 million.
If I may, there's two types of surplus. There's a surplus that you anticipate, and there's a surplus that you don't anticipate. And as our accountant stated, our order, last year, we took in a lot of money of unanticipated revenue. Now, if we went and spent that and couldn't make it up next year the same amount, then it creates a deficit for the taxpayer, and your taxes go up. So as the mayor stated, we try to keep a level playing field, so there's not an elevator ride for the taxpayers, and they know exactly where they're going to be for the next several years.
I get it, you don't
Yeah,
want to spend, you want to keep a rainy day fund, I
If I
get
can
that.
add just to that, a lot of the increases in this budget are one-time increases. There's some capital that we're doing, there's quite a bit of capital that we're doing. So yes, we had a really good year, we have a nice surplus, but we're not increasing, the budget's not increasing a lot by reoccurring expenses. There's capital that's being funded, so that allows us not to have to go out to borrow it, and not to pay interest on it. And we're also funding the school for $2 million. So we're hoping that there's some one-time or short-term expenditures. So we're utilizing what you might want to call a windfall this year for some short-term expenditures, not building them into the budget permanently.
Interesting. I mean, I just feel that if you leave money sitting around too much of it and you collect an extra money, you're gonna use it eventually. I mean, we gotta just maybe consider at some point that if we're collecting extra money, maybe we need to give it back to the people that paid it. I'm not saying don't leave a rainy day fund, I'm not saying that at all. Obviously, we have to have money. And also, I saw there was improvement on roads. What are we doing? I forget the exact number. Didn't have much time to prepare. What kind of improvements are we doing to the infrastructure?
I don't have the full list of roads in front of me, but we are redoing a lot of roads, we're putting in a lot of sidewalks and curbs.
So it's just improvement, not new roads?
Right, to redo old roads.
Okay.
There might be, I think, is Vermont? Vine Street. Yeah, Vine Street is, we're hoping to be able to spend the money to get Vine Street if the state allows us to. So it is a combination of things. Vermont, yeah. Yep. Vermont, we're gonna finish off that.
Okay, just one quick question. I had used the program for potholes. I took a picture, took my location, perfect. A day later, I get an email, completed. This was on Tuesday, Wednesday got completed. I went by this afternoon, nothing was done. I'm just curious why. Yeah, I can forward that to you, no problem. I'm just curious why it would say completed, and I went there today, and it's like, it's still a messed up road.
Let me find out, tell me where it was.
Yeah, I'll forward it to you, no problem. Not important for now. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on the budget? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing. If anybody wants to move it.
I'll move it.
I'll second it, and I'll also thank our professionals for keeping an amazing budget for this year with the zero increase levy, so I appreciate it very much.
And I
And
second
Tom,
it first.
and all the department heads too.
Good job, guys.
For all the work you guys put in.
Thank you. You did a great job.
We do need attorneys. Everybody gets thanked. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Akerman.
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes, thank you. Guys,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Don't forget to sign, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you.
all right, do we have anybody, does anyone want anything removed from the consent agenda? If not, can I have a motion? Motion. Second by Mike, second by Mayor. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Akerman.
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Ordinances for second reading?
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 18 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, specifically Article 9, zoning districts and regulations, Section 19-903D1F, wholesale service zone, B4, woodworking.
Open the meeting to the public. Anybody wish to be heard?
Shloime Klein, Tovark. I would like to ask who requested this change in the ordinance?
I believe it was requested, who brought it to us, you remember? The business owner requested it. I don't know who requested it as a township, but the ordinance was put before us to add this particular use to the zone because it's very similar to other things that are allowed, but it wasn't specifically called out in the ordinance.
So there's a business owner that has an existing business of woodworking. One needed that you guys to change the zoning for him to be compliant to the ordinance. And he requested a zone change and you guys are changing it.
He requested that this use be added to the zone, and yes, we have all talked about it. We are going to, if it's voted in tonight,
Okay.
approve that use.
The reason why I'm asking this, because I asked this question already last meeting by a different ordinance who requested it. And I asked the manager if I come in and I request a zone change, if they'll change it, and he told me only if a township employee will request it, then the township manager recommends to the mayor to put it in as a ordinance. And now I'm finding out that individual in Lakewood could come for any reason into the township and request a zone change, and you guys are considering it. I'm just asking as far as how the procedure works, because I see over here it's different than last time.
I believe, and again, I wasn't involved in this in the beginning. I believe what happened is he moved his business to this location, started working there, went to get his permits, found out that it was not an approved use there. So through either the inspection department or one of the township committeemen, it came to the manager who said, these are the issues, will the township consider it? We discussed it in the meeting, and it could be a couple of months ago. And we all agreed that it's just a minor change. Steve said that it's kind of consistent with the uses that are allowed in the zone now, so that it would not require it to be noticed. It's not a change in the zone, it's an addition to the zone. So that we decided amongst the five of us that it was something that we would be able to follow through on.
I'm not objecting to
No, I'm
the
not saying-
zone,
I'm
I'm
just
not
trying to give
objecting
you
to the zone. I just want to know if things are working differently than I was told last time.
I don't recall exactly what Tom said at the time, but if somebody, lots of people, anybody can come to us.
Did he use a lobbyist?
Are you volunteering? Anybody can request something to the township committee.
Like, to
Said
whom do
many
they go?
times, anybody can ask us for anything. It's up to the five of us to decide what the right or the wrong thing to do is and to act accordingly on that. In this case, somebody came to us with a change. We felt that it was an appropriate change, and we decided to move forward with it.
Because I'm looking over here, individual in Lakewood, the residents of Lakewood, or somebody that has a business comes in, requests a change, and you guys are doing it, and I have no objection to it. But in the same token, the planning board sent you a letter with changes in the zoning, and you, the guys never put it on the,
Which zoning was that?
they had parking issues, with other issues, with Jules, they sent a letter, and they voted by the planning board.
We actually discussed that tonight, and some of the stuff we'll be working on for the next meeting.
That wasn't executive, because it was not in the workshop, I was there. So it wasn't executive. This is a thing that should be discussed in an executive meeting.
It was on the agenda. I don't know what the reasoning behind it was.
Which issue was it?
We talked about the attic apartments, adding a parking spot, the decrease in going from like 300 square foot to 200 square foot.
Yeah, that's about that
It may
letter.
have been at the end of the meeting when we went back to public to discuss westgate circulation. and this
That was
as well.
executive. I think
Yeah,
that was,
yeah, we went back,
no, we went to a workshop, executive, and back out.
Okay, all right, my mistake, I'm sorry.
I think, as far as member of the public that wants to be by the open, you shouldn't do like this.
Well,
It-
it's a discussion of whether or not we're gonna proceed with the ordinance. So we probably will be, and then we will make sure that it's, discussed down here as well.
I'm just talking about the, putting executive, kicking out the public,
No,
and then going in back to, doing the executive, then going back into public, even though it's not on this ordinance, so I shouldn't be speaking about it.
I'll allow this. What I try and do with the executive is make sure we get through as much of the conference-type stuff as possible, because I don't like to ask people to leave. If I feel I'm gonna need enough time to get through all the closed session stuff, the executive session stuff, we'll go into executive session. Sometimes it goes faster than I thought it would, so we would come back out of executive session.
I hear,
Okay,
but
so
you,
that's
but it's a little bit unfair to the public to not know when you're going back open to the public.
I will concede that now.
Thank you.
Got it. Anybody else on this ordinance? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing.
I'll motion.
Move it, I'll second. Moved by Mayor, second by Isaac. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Akerman.
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
yes,
Mayor Coles.
Yes.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, changing the name of a portion of Zinfendel Road improperly designated as Zinfendel Avenue on tax sheet 88.02 to Burgundy Way pursuant to in accordance with NJSA 40:671A et sec.
Open the meeting for this ordinance only.
Yes.
We discussed this in executive.
What's so bad with Zinfendel Road?
It's only a portion.
it's only a portion.
But what's bad with that name?
I think there was another street that might have been named Zinfandel Way or something like that, and they realized the two were kind of too close for comfort, so they asked us to change it. Actually,
I was actually reading it, and it seems like it's in one lane, it's like an L shape. One part is called Zinfendel Avenue, and one part is called Zinfendel Road. So why don't you change it, everything to Avenue or Road, and you don't have to change the name?
It could be the addresses already put in, you have to change the addresses.
So you anyways have to change it now that you put in a Road Burgundy.
Not the number on the house, you just have to change the name of the road.
But then you're changing the number.
The name, but not the number.
No, the whole thing is becoming Burgundy.
No, only part of it. The part that's called Avenue is being called Burgundy, the part that's called whatever.
Zinfandel Road is remaining, Zinfandel
Correct.
Avenue is becoming Burgundy.
Correct.
Aha, so the guy that is named, the road is named on Zinfandel, is still having a name on, street under his name. So we're not depriving anybody of his name, street name.
That's a great. It's not-
Thank you.
We'll drink to that.
I'll make a motion.
You bring the bottle. Move and second, any discussion, roll call, please.
Committeeman Akerman.
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Ordinance is for second reading, no. Third one?
Yes. Ordinance in Township of Lakewood County, Ocean State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 18 of too.
Joyce, I hate to say this, but I'm going to ask the committee to carry this. Unfortunately, the planning board had to cancel their meeting. They were not able to supply comments on it, so until they were able to give us the comments, we don't want to vote on it. So
That was going to be my question. I did see Klein's live stream, and so as a result, I know the planning board didn't have a chance to make recommendations on it. So thank you.
Okay, we should carry this to the 18th or till...
Let me just ask a small question. I know it's not open to the public. Will the planning board have public comment when they make the recommendations? Because obviously you guys are getting their recommendations, and the public has a right. The attorney said that you shouldn't answer, so.
No, did you say not to answer, that there won't be public comment?
No, Harold and I were talking about something, I don't.
Oh, sorry.
Do you know if the planning board will allow public comment on this particular ordinance when they do their comments? I know you're not their attorney, but...
Normally, no, they do not. It is not an open public, it is not open to the public. It is, it's open to the public, but not for public comment. That comment comes at second reading. They make a recommendation based on their planning expertise.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. We have a motion to carry it till
June 8th.
June 8th.
So made. Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman.
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Okay, there are no ordinances for first reading. We have a motion for correspondence.
I'll move park requests and correspondence with any approvals.
Moved by Mayor, second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have a motion for the bill list of May 3rd.
So made. I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman.
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Comments from committee members?
Aye, sir.
Just want to remind the public that we'll be having a Memorial Day parade on May 29th, which is on a Monday. Anyone that would like to be part of the parade, certainly feel free to reach out to my office. We have certainly people who have applied to it, and we look forward to being a really nice parade. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Mike?
Nothing at all.
I just want to thank Menashe for once again taking care of the Memorial Day parade.
It ain't over till it's over. Don't think it actually gets pulled off.
All right, I have one thing tonight. There is a meeting of the Master Plan Committee on this coming Monday. It's drawing to a close. I had a couple of members of the board talk to me over the last week or two, and I put this letter together. I intend to send it to them and sign it. I'm asking if the committee, if they hear it, would be amenable to signing it along with me, and I'd just like to read it. It's brief. I want to take a moment to thank you for the hard work and dedication you have shown over the course of this master plan review. It has been a long and at times controversial process. Listening to the many different points of view and condensing them into a growth strategy must have seemed impossible at times. It is never easy to reconcile opinions which seem to be polar opposites, yet this is exactly what the township has asked of you. I am asking one more thing of you, and that is for all the members to form their own unbiased opinions. While it is important to hear what everyone has to say, it is equally important that you weigh what you have learned and apply it fairly to all different parts of the master plan. Parks and open space, transportation, downtown, senior community needs, and yes, even density. Density and growth are surely the lightning rods of this master plan. We need you to honestly evaluate where or if higher density is appropriate for Lakewood's next steps. I know that the entire committee appreciates the hard work that you have already put in, and I assure you that we will honor that work and produce a plan that we can all be proud of. Thank you again. Sincerely, Raymond Coles, Mayor. Committee, if you'd like to sign on this with me, I'd be honored to have you. If not, I totally understand why. But I just wanted to make sure that this was read on the record so that everybody knows about it ahead of time. That's all I have to say tonight. If there's a
Are
motion-
you retracting from the old letter that you sent them?
What's that?
Are you
No, I'm sorry. After the meeting, I'll talk.
So made.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Letter's here if anybody wants to sign it.
How come it's only higher or same? Why not like,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
how come a higher density or the same? Why not like a lower? Is that not an option?
Well, that's
Sometimes
just
you-
the words I put in there.
Sometimes we've gone too high, maybe we have to readjust.
Are you retracting from the old letter?
No, I signed
Old
off.
letter says no increase in density.
I'm not saying anything other than please use your own.
That wasn't yours. That wasn't yours. Yours went through.
Right, I'm the mayor this year, and I thought it appropriate to thank everybody on the way. Yes or no? I need to sign this. I'm sorry. Signing over here is directed to you with letter. No, it's not.
All right,
It is perfect.
Thank you.
It'll be on,
Sorry.
they make their own budget, we collect the money for them, they make their own budget.
No way you have a use case you get something done.
We tried, we used to. Oh, yeah.
The only point